All right, everyone, let's get started. You're watching Crypto Corner with myself, OJ, crypto analyst and investor since 2016. And today I will be talking about Ledger because they just released an announcement that they're upgrading their firmware and they're releasing something that they've never done before. Something that actually many people have been asking for. And so far, we haven't really had this type of a service. What I'm talking about, first of all, Ledger is the most popular hardware wallet on the market. It's been around since 2014 or 15. It was one of the first. I think Trezor was probably the first one, and then it was Ledger and KeepKey. They came around pretty much the same time. And Ledger, over the years, managed to take over Trezor and became the number one hardware wallet device. I've done reviews on all of their devices. I've done tutorials on all of their devices. I'm using Ledger Nano S and Ledger Nano X. In fact, Ledger Nano S not so much anymore. I use it as a backup. But anyways, what I'm talking about is that many people find these devices to be quite complex. And the fact that you have to protect your seed phrase is often overlooked. Somehow people manage to lose their seed phrases and stuff like that. Actually, a friend of mine just lost all of her passwords. When you're writing down things on paper, like a notebook or something, it happens every now and then that you could actually misplace it or even just lose it. And if you do that with your seed phrase, it's gone. Your crypto is gone if you lose your seed phrase. You can have the device, you can still work with that device for some time, but whenever something happens to that device and you need to reset, you don't have your seed phrase to reset it. So this is why I always remind you when I'm doing tutorials and reviews that the seed phrase is even more important than the actual device. So Ledger is now doing something that would help people, or at least, this is the goal, is to help those people that are not very good at keeping their seed phrase, because I'm pretty sure at this point they have millions of customers. They hit 1 million customers back in 2017. So you can imagine since then how many more customers they've got. They've got millions of customers. I'm pretty sure they get requests on a daily basis from many people who have lost their seed phrase and they want help. So what Ledger is doing is basically introducing a new service that will shard your seed phrase, or you can see it as a multi-sig type of thing, where your seed phrase will be split into three. And you will have three backups of this seed phrase, right? And then only two out of these three backups will be required in order to recover that seed phrase and to be able to access your accounts. In order to do that, of course, they have to implement KYC, because they need, if you sign up for this service, and I must point out, this is a paid service that is not going to be by default for everyone, but there's already a lot of outcry, and Heidi, one of the YouTubers, the OG YouTubers that I've been following since I first started with crypto, I do respect her. I'm responding to her here in this video. She posted a video yesterday where she was talking about this, and apparently she's not really happy about this upgrade, about this firmware upgrade. So I want to address this, I want to respond to this and give you my thoughts. Let's first have a look at what Heidi had to say.
All right, we got to talk about it. What the heck is going on with Ledger and their newest firmware update soon to come? What does this mean for all Ledger users? What does this mean for the security of hardware wallets in general? I have a lot of thoughts about this, but I'm going to talk about basically the update, who it affects, steps moving forward, what to be aware of, and my opinions. Welcome to Crypto Tips. Today is not my most favorite at all video to make, but probably a very, I know this to be a very important video to be publishing out. So thank you everyone for tuning in and for being aware of what's happening with self-custody and with the largest hardware wallet company that should be at the forefront of this. So right off the bat.
All right, well, right from the start, you get the sense that Heidi is not really feeling this upgrade. She doesn't really like it. She's talking about what's going on, that Ledger is supposed to be at the forefront. Okay, we get it.
Ledger is rolling out a new recover.
Did you spot the quotation marks, recover. Why the quotation marks, Heidi? It is indeed a recover service, and the most important part is that it's not obligatory, meaning that you're not going to be forced to use this service. But I'm pretty sure there are going to be hundreds, maybe thousands, if not even hundreds of thousands of people that would find this really helpful. Let's continue.
Tool, service, basically. This is like the number one fear of new people coming into cryptocurrencies is that what if I lose my private key? What if I lose all my crypto? Where is the help desk that will help me get it
And
back?
that is very true. So many people, even I get emails, and I'm not really a tech guy, but I get emails from people who are locked out of their ledgers or other hardware wallets, but mainly Ledger, because I did videos early on and they're very popular and everything. So people do reach out to me asking me for help. Even though I would first go straight to the Ledger team for help rather than someone else. But yeah, many people have problems with recovering their accounts because they lose their seed phrases. And every now and then when you do a firmware upgrade, it might actually reset your device, in which case you will need to input that seed phrase in order to restore everything. Or maybe you were using Ledger Nano S and now you want to switch to Ledger Nano X and you want to use the same accounts. You will need to input your old seed phrase from the Nano S into the Nano X in order to use the same accounts. So if you don't have that seed phrase, it's really bad. I mean, if you're one of those people who are still having your device, but you've lost your seed phrase, the best thing you can do is to open another wallet somewhere, whether it's a software wallet or hardware wallet. Another hardware wallet will be ideal, of course. You don't really want to be using software wallet after you using hardware, but just get another wallet, send those coins to another wallet that you can have that seed phrase, and then you can wipe out this device and you can set it up again and you can get that a new seed phrase. But if you restore the device with a new seed phrase and you create basically a new device with a new seed phrase, you cannot access your old accounts. So this is the only way. If you lose your seed phrase before you forget your PIN code, or the device needs to be reset or anything like that, use that device and send these coins to another wallet. And this is really the only way. But let's continue with Heidi.
And Ledger trying to appeal to the masses, the people who don't know any better, the people who don't understand the importance of self-custody. They're trying to appeal to them by unleashing this new tool that requires things like KYC, which is proving your identity over the owner of private keys. And also, not just that, but also like having a video, FaceTime probably type of experience to prove.
Yes, you will. You will have to do that, because if you are going to use that service and later on, let's say in a year or 2 years from now, you go to Ledger and you say, I lost my seed phrase, I want the recovery. Ledger needs to identify you. They need to know that you are the true owner of that private key and you're not the brother, the mother, the father, the friend, or someone who just hacked into that person's belongings and they found, part of a recovery phrase or something, or maybe they just found your actual device and they're trying now to get the private keys from there, the seed phrase, so that they can use it and steal your funds. So Ledger needs to do everything that they can in order to make sure that you are 100% that person and not someone else. So of course that happens unfortunately with KYC and strict KYC. As she said, most likely there will be a video connection there so that they can see you and identify you rather than just submitting documents, right? So it will be quite a high level strict KYC, which I hate. And Heidi hates. We are OGs. We are coming from that old space of crypto where it was all about self custody and it was all about the freedom to use your funds the way you like without having, well, not without having zero any accountability, but without really necessary having to respond to everyone and showing. And having to prove to third parties who you are and why and how you have this crypto and all of that stuff. we are mining crypto, we are trading crypto, we're doing whatever we want with crypto. This is why crypto was invented. So I do understand where she's coming from here. But Heidi, why do you hate the idea so much? There are so many people who lose their crypto. And yes, you're saying that they have to be educated, and we should insist that people understand self-custody before they use it. But I have many friends who got into crypto because of me, because this is my goal. Ever since I started this channel, I've been trying to grow the crypto community and to really spread the word about crypto and get more people involved, because I've done tremendously well with crypto myself, and I want my friends and people who know me and people who are in my network to also do well. So many times people are losing their crypto because they're not very good at safekeeping their seed phrase. I'm pretty sure this is a service that Ledger is not just trying to appeal to the masses, but they're actually trying to serve their customers. This is the way I see it.
Prove your identity. And what this process means is basically you have your ledger, you have your seed phrase that you've generated, and let's say you're a crypto newbie and you want to have help, you want to have a backup plan in case you lose that. If you want to do this service, it's an additional $9.99 a month for this service. And they're saying that's going to create the ability for your device to generate a backup of your recovery phrase. It will encrypt that backup, that additional backup, in a certain way that will basically...
I'm pretty sure that if you're going to be paying monthly $10 per month for this service, that means you really need it. That means it will be I would say that will be not just a minority, it will be a very, very small number of the users of Ledger that are actually going to sign up for this service. So I don't really see a problem with that. So far, so good. Optional service to protect your accounts, to create a backup that is not cloud backup. In fact, it will be a backup that will be stored by Ledger and 2 other partner companies. So 3 companies are going to be involved here. But let's actually go to that part, because this is where the issue arises.
And they're saying that's going to create the ability for your device to generate a backup of your recovery phrase. It will encrypt that backup, that additional backup, in a certain way that will basically, it will turn your ledger into a multi-sig type wallet, where 3 out of the 2 signatures will be required to regain access.
Okay, this is a slip of the tongue. I'm pretty sure she made a mistake here. That was unintentional. It's 2 out of the 3 backup signatures that you will need in order to restore your wallet, not 3 out of the 2. But yeah, this is just a slip of the tongue. I'm pretty sure it was not, she's not confused about that.
3 entities being Ledger, CoinCover, and a third company that they are not publicly announcing on their website, at least. I'm not sure if they said this in their announcement on Twitter. I think I read somewhere on Twitter, someone found what that third company is.
Okay, well, that third company, I feel, should actually remain anonymous, because if you trust Ledger, and if you trust Ledger enough to actually buy their device and store all of your crypto, or a big chunk of your crypto on Ledger, you have to trust them, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. Actually, you probably trust them, even though with self-custody you should not trust a third party. And that's the beauty of hardware wallets, is that even the companies that produce these wallets, they don't really have access to your mnemonic phrase, so they don't really have any control over your device. They only have control over the firmware that they release, or the upgrades and things that, the coins they support, all of that part. But if you trust Ledger enough, and this is the number 1 company for hardware wallets, purely because it's been around for so long and it's never been hacked and everything. So yeah, very, very secure device. If you trust Ledger enough, then I don't really see a problem with this service. And as I said again, this is an optional service. So by them keeping that third partner anonymous, it's actually avoiding interest from hackers to go and try and hack their database and steal mnemonic phrases and stuff like that. So I don't have a problem with them keeping the third. Even I would say they shouldn't reveal any of the parties involved. We already have 2 of the companies. The third one is being anonymous. I feel that they should have kept all of their, but again, people are gonna say, well, why we don't know who these are? We can't trust them and all of that. Well, if you can't trust them, don't use the service. As simple as that.
But the fact that it's just 2 out of the 3 that they're being public about is enough to raise some suspicions. You get, let's say you lost your recovery phrase, and so you go to Ledger, you say, okay, I need to enact this assisted backup, and Ledger and CoinCover or the other company can come forward and combine these fractioned and encrypted forms of your backup together to give you your coins back.
Yeah, it's more of a sharding of your mnemonic phrase rather than multi-sig, because with multi-sig, that we mostly use multi-sig for signing transactions, and in this case you're actually recovering your seed phrase. So that's more of a sharding, which is basically splitting your seed phrase onto 3 parts, and you have one part, and then the other 2 parts are somewhere else. And if you lose the one that you have, you can still use the other 2 in order to restore your seed phrase. That's pretty much what it is. And Apollo Cosmos, one of the hardware wallets that I reviewed, already does that. They offer you a sharding of your seed phrase with 3 or 5 cards, and I would say the 5 cards is the best option. But with the 5 cards, you need 3 out of the 5, and with 3, you need 2 out of the 3, of course. So it's not a new concept, and I do like the concept. The only question here is it safe for Ledger to be storing these backups for you? Because you don't really want your backup to be with a third party, but clearly some people do, Heidi. This is why some people have asked for this option, and this is why Ledger is doing it. Let's see what other concerns there are.
A lot of skepticism, concerns, and fear is coming from Ledger users. People who've always been vocal against Ledger especially are being very loud. But here's my point, is that even as someone who's a diehard Ledger fan, we should always be skeptical about anything that we cannot verify. And Ledger has been great. It's a hardware wallet that I've supported for years. I've talked about it. I've suggested it as an option.
Yeah, we've all done that, Heidi. Everyone loves Ledger. It's funny you say a Ledger diehard fan, but as I go here in your video, you only promote Trezor. The first link here is Trezor, and clearly you're no longer a diehard fan of Ledger. Not at all, in fact, a fan of Ledger anymore, because you go on to promote Trezor as the only alternative here to Ledger. And guys, I've already given you like 3 or 4 other alternatives. I would say one key right now is really topping my list because of ease of use, and Keystone. It's an air-gapped device. There is no internet connection with Keystone. It's all QR codes, and I feel that this is even safer. So there are other alternatives. Trezor is actually the device I use the least. It is secure and everything, but I find it to not be the most convenient or easy to use. So it's just a storage, long-term storage for me. I've put some of my Bitcoin in my Trezor, and I haven't touched it in 4 years. And I don't intend on touching it in the next 4 or 5 years as well. So I don't know. I mean, this seems to me, did you do this video just to promote Trezor, Heidi? I hope not.
Option for people to use as their hardware wallet device to secure their cryptocurrencies, because I've used Ledger. It's a first and basically only hardware wallet that I use most often, in fact. That might be changing very soon, unfortunately, but we always have to stay on our toes, right? And being skeptical is what will keep us and our cryptocurrencies secure in a sovereign, self-custody fashion. So again,
yeah, I agree with that. This is a true point. Everyone should be skeptical, but being skeptical and going ahead and creating a video that is so negative when you don't really have all of the data just yet. I mean, today I saw a report that Ledger already responded to these concerns. This is the video from their CEO, and he's French, so he's got a very thick French accent. So I'm going to just quickly reiterate what he's talking about here in this video. Basically, he explains that the concerns, before I actually move on to this, let's see what other criticism Heidi has about this upgrade.
I'm trying my best not to instill any kind of FUD or panic. I'm just trying to keep you guys updated so that you can make an educated decision on where you're going to hold your cryptos. Now, this whole ability of this is where
I like how she says, I'm not trying to instill any kind of panic or anything, but look at that screenshot. It's pure panic, horror. Okay.
the controversy comes from with Ledger is because Ledger software is completely open source. Everything about Ledger is open source.
Which is great, because this is how we can verify things. When it's open source, yes, there is a risk, of people grabbing that code and knowing everything about it, finding, loopholes and things to exploit. But it is so secure that even being open source, it's not being hacked. So the fact that it's open source is a good thing. I explained it already in my last review of a hardware wallet, which was the OneKey Classic, I think. And I do have a OneKey Touch review coming up. I also talked about open source there because they are open source. This is a plus. This is good, right?
Except their secure element, which is the little physical chip that they have in their hardware wallet devices.
Yeah, it's the same with Trezor. The secure element remains closed source.
This is closed source. So because of that, there's always been a requirement or a level of trust with Ledger hardware wallets. Now, for me, my own peace of mind with Ledger has always been in the fact that they've been around since 2014 and have never suffered a hack from their hardware wallet devices. Their devices have never been hacked. And so for me, that is still a positive in that there's now these accusations that this secure element maybe has always had a backdoor, or at the very least, this firmware will allow it to have a backdoor.
Well, you see, so now we're going on speculation. This is the part where I disagree with Heidi, because you probably just rushed a little too soon to create this video and talk about rumors. And that's the bad part. This is when you're actually spreading FUD, when you just talk rumors that are not confirmed, that is the unknown, right? And when we're talking about the unknown, we can assume everything. We can assume the worst case scenario, and we usually assume the worst case scenario, which would be that there is a backdoor. Well, Ledger actually, in their response, mentioned specifically the fact that there is no backdoor, and there is no way for anyone to actually exploit this. But of course, we have to always assume the worst, so that we can prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And I think this is what she's doing right now. I just don't like the fact that she's rushing a little.
Recovery system service will allow your chip in your device to not only generate your seed phrase, which is what it normally does, but also to export that seed phrase to these other third parties. That is the huge concern. That's because that's something that Ledger time and again, and in fact, in their announcement on Twitter about this new recovery service, they've said about 3 or 4 times, the CTO said that the secure element chip, or the chip, does not have access to your recovery phrase. It cannot send your recovery phrase elsewhere. It begs the question, well, then how are these fragmented private keys essentially being sent to these third parties? Is it from the chip, or is it the user that has to physically send this private key basically to these third parties?
And this is a valid question, but the thing is, why don't we wait and find out and know what exactly the case is before we worry about it? I mean, if it is going to be the latter option that you pointed out, where you are actually cooperating with Ledger to provide your seed phrase to them, in that case, there is no leaking of your seed phrase. So the secure chip is not sending your seed phrase to the company. And if that is the case, there is no room to worry about, because the only problem would be if indeed Ledger can do something and remotely get access to your seed phrase. Because yes, it could be great if they do it, to help you and everything. But what if a rogue staff member of Ledger decides to actually do some harm and abuses this system? This is really the concern. But this is only a valid concern if that is exactly the case. We don't know. if that is the case. So we are now concerned about speculation. We are concerned about a possible scenario that we don't really, it's not a definite. We don't know that this is the case in order to be concerned. And if we know that this is the case, then we're going to voice that concern, and I'm pretty sure Ledger will see that nobody is going to agree to Ledger being able to access your seed phrase directly from your device or remotely, from your secure chip of your device. I don't really see that happening because that would be suicidal for Ledger. It would basically make them a custodian. And the whole point of hardware wallets is self-custody. So if they become a custodian wallet, then we're not going to use them. Simple as that.
This is where my disappointment comes in, because in my opinion, Ledger is and has been, maybe that's changing right now in my opinion, a cornerstone of self-custody in cryptocurrency, and a company that helps people take real true ownership over their cryptocurrency, and should be at the forefront of that type of education. Now they're going soft, in my opinion. Very, very soft. And at the end of this video, I'm going to explain why that might be happening with some recent regulations coming out of Europe. But now they're saying, you know what, we need to be more marketable to the masses. We need.
No, I don't see it like that. I see that they're actually trying to be competitive. They now have a lot of competition on the market. When they first came up, it was maybe 2 devices, 3 at the most. Now we have 15 or more, and definitely they're trying to stay competitive. And if they offer you a service that no one else is offering you, then it's very likely that you will go for their brand. You will want to be a customer of them rather than any of the competitors. Now, before we move on to the last part where she's talking about the regulatory concerns and everything and why she thinks that they go soft, Ledger did respond, and we don't really want to watch the whole video, but he is responding because there's other people also that are voicing their concerns about this. I mean, the Polygon Labs chief information security officer already warned users that this feature is going to be a horrendous idea, mainly because of the KYC. This is why he sees this as a bad idea. I agree with that. I'm not a fan of KYC, but this is why I'm not going to be using the feature. I personally also don't see any other way to protect that seed phrase and to, for a third party like Ledger, a company, to be able to give you access to any seed phrase. They need to know that it's yours. I don't see any other way for them to know that it's yours unless there is a strict KYC when they know that you are the same person who actually provided that seed phrase to them. And to me, the most secure way would be for you to actually provide that seed phrase to them rather than them finding some way to access it, right? So they have to know that this is really you. There's no other way. So yes, it's a horrendous idea to implement KYC with a hardware wallet. It goes against, the whole purpose of a hardware wallet. But as I said, millions of people were using that device, and there would be thousands of people that are losing their seed phrase, maybe hundreds on a daily basis, which is bad enough. So if that's going to help even just one person, then do it. But as I said, it is not compulsory. So it means that if you don't want to use it, you're not going to use it. They're saying here that Backdoor, because everyone who is concerned is talking about a backdoor, with the secure chip. They say a backdoor would mean that we control all Ledger devices and could run automated updates, for example. That's not the case. It will never be the case. Only you can use functions on your Ledger. No one else can enter your PIN code and press those buttons. So the recover feature is an opt-in subscription, and it will not be enabled by default. The device sends encrypted shards of your seed to different companies if you decide to use this service. And they say different companies. They try not to mention these companies, even though we already know one of the companies, and then the second one being Ledger themselves, and then we only don't know the third one. I personally think that we should not know any of these companies, because that way hackers are going to have less access, less to work with, right? Ledger claims that self-custody remains and will always be at the core principle of Ledger. By the way, they did say that when you use this service, the shards of your mnemonic phrase will be encrypted. So even hacking into a database, if that database is encrypted, it's still not going to be that easy. I mean, I know that there are many leaks over the years, and there has also been a leak directly from Ledger's database where users' emails got leaked. So users started getting phishing emails, and stuff like that. This was bad enough, but this is usually not an encrypted data. Just emails or users' names and emails. Often in databases where these things are being stored, they're not encrypted. Or there might be a light encryption, but with mnemonic phrase, the encryption will be quite a complex encryption that I'm not going to use this service. Don't get me wrong. I'm not necessarily saying, oh yeah, let's everyone go for that service. Definitely. I don't like KYC. I like my privacy. So definitely I will stick to just using non-custodial services, and I will not be sharing, my identity and other information purely because I just want to keep my privacy. It's not that I'm doing anything illegal or anything like that. But then again, there are illegal activities that could be prevented. And of course, regulators want to prevent illegal activities. We always think that governments want to abuse us, and that's why they want all of that information. To some degree, there is truth in that as well. We've come to realize that there's a lot of shady activity happening in governments, and some governments are even quite oppressive towards their citizens and everything. So this is why it's important to have this type of services. This is why crypto is changing the game in terms of finance and self-custody. And so far we've never really had true self-custody over our capital, because the capital was issued by the governments that govern our countries. So for the first time with crypto, we actually have a form of money, whether you agree or not that it's a form of money, but I would argue it is a form of money that is censorship resistant, and that you can really have true ownership. So it is a valid concern that Heidi is pointing out about the fact that we're going to have now a service that can actually access your seed phrase. But as I said, we still don't know exactly how that seed phrase is going to be sent out to Ledger, whether they will be able to extract it from your device, whether they will need the device, whether it can be done remotely. This is going to be the most important part. Before we speculate any further about whether this is good or bad, we need to know everything, and we don't really have that information yet.
Anyway, we're still figuring out the best case scenario. We're trying to get as much information as we can, and I'm sure I'm going to be making several updated videos for this. We haven't heard a whole lot from Ledger themselves in regards to this backlash there. Now, what I mentioned earlier in today's video is, could this be that Ledger is being pressured by regulators, by governments around the world to the need to identify who owns which cryptocurrency wallets?
Okay, now that is a very far-fetched accusation here, because if you assume that this is the case, then you ignore the part where this service is not only optional, but it's also a paid service. And there's very few people that are willing to spend 10 quid, $10 a month for a service that is going to expose them, right? So as I said, to me, there will be a very small number of users of Ledger in percentage that will sign up for this service, and it will be people that really feel that they need it. So I don't see how, if governments are pressuring Ledger, how does that make sense that they will make this service not very inclusive, I would say. 10 quid a month is a lot. That's more than 100 a year. And of course, if you're going to be using this service, you will be using it all the time, right? They're not going to allow you to just sign up for this service when you need it as a pay-as-you-go type of thing. It's a subscription that you will be paying for years. So little by little, year after year, it will add up. It will be a big amount. So you're only going to use it if you're actually holding a lot of money in your ledger. And then if you don't mind to have your identity revealed to any third party. And this is pretty much the whole video. I mean, she goes on to talk about EU regulations that are coming up that she don't mention, and she's trying to promote basically the next video that Heidi is going to do, which is fine. This is good practice of any YouTuber, and Heidi's been on YouTube before me and before most of the other YouTubers out there. I do respect her. This is why I decided to do this video, to respond, to this directly. Because I don't really follow that many YouTubers, especially the YouTubers that came up in the last few years. I don't really care for that much for them. But Heidi is one of the OGs, and she's been around. She's helped a lot of people with her videos. She's always on point with her observations. This is the first time, I think, that I don't quite agree with something that I'm seeing in terms of content that Heidi is pushing out there. So I'd still agree with some of the arguments that she brought forward, but I disagree generally with the whole vibe of the video. Is quite negative. She's also talking a lot about Trezor and promoting Trezor on the back of this, which again I don't like. I feel that there is a place for Trezor and a place for Ledger in your portfolio. I feel that everyone should have at least 3 or 4 hardware wallets, especially if you're holding a lot of cryptocurrencies. I've been in the space for a long time, so of course I hold a lot of cryptocurrencies, and I want to basically have no more than 1 or 2 Bitcoin in each hardware wallet. And that's why I'm using, quite a few already, and I will keep adding more because that's my goal. I want to spread my crypto over several wallets, many wallets, maybe 10 or 15 wallets. I don't really want to have my crypto in 1 or 2 wallets only. And anything could happen. Even the most unhackable device today can tomorrow be exploited. Maybe they would release a firmware upgrade that will have vulnerabilities and it will be exploited. And I could lose my crypto in that wallet. So by having 10, 15, 20 even devices, I'm really protecting myself. If I only have 1 Bitcoin in each device, then the most I will lose is 1. So I don't really want to be holding 5 or 10 or more Bitcoin in one device. This is why I keep adding more devices. This is why I do reviews on all of the devices that I'm buying for myself. And then I promote them to you guys, and you can pick the ones that you like. But ideally, you also have more than 1 hardware wallet. And here is a reminder of one of the latest wallets that I added to my portfolio.
One of the cold wallets that I use is OneKey Classic, the most inconspicuous device that I have. Paperlight and compact, and it's under $100, yet it supports thousands of cryptocurrencies and has Bluetooth connectivity, making it really easy to use. I recently posted a detailed review of the OneKey Classic, which you will find in the description below, so go check it out.
All right, and again, I want to reiterate, I'm not promoting OneKey on the back of Ledger. I still think that Ledger is a great device, and I'm still using my Ledger Nano X. I'm not going to stop using it. I'm just not going to sign up for this service, and that's it for me. I'm not even going to upgrade my firmware yet to this latest upgrade that will have this option, because I want to wait and see what other accusations there will be, what other things people might find about it, especially developers, tech people. I want to see what their feedback will be before I decide whether I'm going to upgrade my firmware. But right now, I'm not really using Ledger on a daily basis. It's not my device for day-to-day usage. I use Keystone and OneKey much more, and even SecuX. I'm using much more these devices for day-to-day type of transactions and stuff like that. Ledger and Trezor for me are devices that are just for storekeeping, because as I said, they're not the most user-friendly in terms of, ease of use, interface, and stuff like that. So you still can use your Ledger. Do not worry about it. Do not go and migrate to a different wallet just because of this upgrade. Wait and see what's going to happen. And we can have a follow-up video where we discuss the development of these features and, whether they're good or bad. But I wouldn't really go into a full FUD mode, fear, uncertainty, and doubt mode, and start moving my coins from Ledger to other wallets just yet. I feel that this will be too premature, and I also feel that this video by Heidi was a little premature, but I understand as a content creator, you're constantly looking for something that is interesting, exciting, and important, and she felt really passionate about this subject, so she decided to push this video out. As I said, said, I don't really subscribe to all of the views that she expressed, and I disagree with some of them and I agree with some of them. Well, let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a like, show your support. Let's help the YouTube algorithms pick up this video so it can reach more people. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? It's free. My content is always free and it will remain free. I don't do Patreon, I don't do paid channels, signals, or any of that stuff. All of my content has always been free because I've already got the money. I don't need your coins. All I need is to grow my network and the crypto community and to spread the word and for all of us to be successful and wealthy. Alright, and with that said, it's time for me to go. While you're here, just pick another one of my videos and I'll see you there.